I'm very disappointed in myself. Not for the act. I think there are millions and billions of people of consenting age that engage in activities.
Something just cracked wide open, and Shannon Sharpe might be smack in the middle of a scandal that makes the Diddy raids look like a warm-up act. I'm talking secret footage, a rogue bodyguard, wild industry parties, and receipts that were never supposed to see the light of day. And now, people are starting to ask questions Shannon's been dodging for years. This isn't about gossip anymore. It's about what really goes on behind the velvet ropes of Hollywood's elite. From mysterious initiations to allegations that go way deeper than anyone expected.
Even when I'm behind closed doors, I still try to remain a level of professional, although I'm in the privacy of my own home.
The pieces are finally starting to fit together, and it's messy. So buckle up, because if even half of what's being said is true, we're looking at the biggest fall from grace sports media's ever seen, and the wildest cover-up Hollywood's been trying to bury. Let's get into it. All right, so here's where the whole thing starts unraveling. It all began with a single tweet. Just one post from a man claiming to be Shannon Sharpe's former bodyguard. He goes by the name Saka Zumba, and what he posted had the internet in a full-on chokehold. The tweet, it said Shannon met a young woman.
And to have one of your most intimate details, the audio heard for the entire world to hear. I'm embarrassed for a number of reasons. People count on Shannon. There are a lot of people that count on Shannon to be professional at all times, and I always try to be professional at all times.
Just 17, at one of Diddy's infamous parties. Not only that, he flat out claimed that Shannon got involved with her that same night. And just like that, boom, tweet deleted, gone within minutes. But this is the internet. Nothing ever really disappears. Screenshots spread like wildfire. Reposts popped up on every platform, and people started digging. And here's where it gets even crazier. This leak dropped right after Shannon announced he'd be stepping away from ESPN until the NFL preseason.
There were an event that happened today. Obviously, I'm embarrassed. Someone that is extremely, extremely private.
The timing? Way too clean to ignore. People immediately started putting two and two together. Why walk away now when you're at the top of your game? Unless something's about to hit the fan. And let's not forget, Shannon's been hit with other legal drama recently too. Serious stuff, including a high-profile SA lawsuit. So when this tweet came out, it felt less like a random shot in the dark and more like the beginning of a coordinated takedown. A quiet message from someone on the inside who's ready to burn it all down. But what exactly are these Diddy parties Shannon supposedly went to?
I have a Club Shay Shay after this year.
It's gonna be in a dimension it's never.
And why are they being called some of the darkest, most secretive gatherings in the industry? Yeah, we need to talk about that. Now let's talk about those parties, because if you've been paying even half attention to the industry whispers over the past few years, you've definitely heard about Diddy's infamous freak-offs. These aren't your average Hollywood after-parties. No cameras allowed, no phones, and apparently, no limits. Former employees, bodyguards, even artists have come forward describing them as something straight out of a twisted VIP-only secret society.
When Cat dropped, it's like, all of a sudden he gay now.
And now, more people are finally starting to speak up. One name that keeps coming up is Lil Rod, a producer who recently dropped bombshell claims that Diddy's homes were wired from wall to wall. Hidden cameras in every room, every conversation, every hookup, every scandal, recorded, allegedly. According to him, Diddy keeps that footage like insurance on everyone who steps into those mansions. And if you think that sounds too wild to be true, he's not the only one who's said it.
That called me trying to do an interview. I said, no, Medea, I ain't doing no interview. So you can sit across from me and look at my balls. I'll sit down, nigga.
Another former bodyguard, Big Homie CC, who used to work with Jamie Foxx, claimed he witnessed grown men literally running around naked at these parties. Not just once, not just rumors. Firsthand, this paints a whole different picture of what these events actually were. Because if Shannon was at one of these parties, even once, and if Lil Rod is telling the truth about those hidden cameras, then the real question becomes, what does Diddy have on Shannon? And who else might be holding that footage? It gets darker.
Says to me, because Cookie from the show Empire, I was offered that role. Now Taraji tore it up, baby. Listen here. However, I was offered that. Then Felita called me back and say, baby girl, they said you too difficult to work with. But you hear on the audio that a man told David Talbert I was difficult to work with. Do you see how that cost my family?
Yeah.
Because apparently it wasn't just partying, it was a test, an initiation. And what you're about to hear next might be the wildest part of the whole story, okay? Deep breath, because this next part, it sounds completely insane. Until you realize just how many people have said the same thing. It's called the boiled egg test. Yeah, you heard that right. According to Suge Knight, who's no stranger to the dark underbelly of Hollywood, this test was allegedly used at elite industry parties to break in newcomers.
Downs, you see what I'm saying?
Kim, I've been trying to line Cat up for a year. I tried to line him up for a year. People don't know this, but Cat doesn't like to fly. I'm getting off the elevator. As I'm getting off the elevator, a lady's getting on.
Right.
The story goes like this. Certain celebrities were asked to, let's say, perform with a raw boiled egg in an extremely personal area. If the egg broke, they weren't ready. If it didn't, congratulations, you're in. Now, this sounds like something ripped straight out of a dystopian script, but here's the thing. It keeps getting brought up. People from different corners of the industry have told eerily similar stories, not just about the test itself, but about how certain A-listers changed after attending these parties, like overnight, fame, deals, endorsements, power.
About it. But when Cat came on and did what he did, now you had no choice. Advertisers, sponsors had to take Club Shay Shay serious.
Right.
People that did, he just this, he's a...
So when you stack this next to Shannon's career trajectory, it hits a little different. He went from retired NFL star to media powerhouse practically overnight. Talk shows, appearances, brand deals, social media clout. It was like he got let into a whole different level of the game. And remember,
The same.
I said, is there anything that you don't want to talk about? I always ask the guests that. Sometimes they say, well, I would appreciate if we not talk about this.
Right.
Cool, no problem. Because I believe you can tell your story without saying something negative. But yes, I believe.
Shannon himself once said he wasn't big enough to be invited to those Diddy parties. That was before his massive rise. So now everyone's asking, what changed? Because if that rise wasn't just luck, and if even half of these rituals are real, then maybe Shannon's success came with a price, and we're only just beginning to see the cost. So now we've got to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. Was Shannon Sharpe actually part of Diddy's inner circle? Because for years, he's insisted he never got the invite. In that interview with Kai Cenat, Shannon flat out said he wasn't famous enough back then to be on the guest list. Said he never stepped foot into one of those wild Diddy parties. Just a quiet little dinner guy, nothing crazy, but that timeline isn't holding up anymore. Think about it. Shannon's career exploded in the media world. He became a household name, built his own show, started interviewing legends, and suddenly he's this larger-than-life personality dominating the sports world. And that rise? It happened after the period where he claimed he wasn't invited. So either he magically skipped all the Hollywood politics, or there's something he's not telling us.
I believe a person that's been in a business, that's been doing something 10, 15, 20, 30 years, are more than one salacious story.
Right.
That's what I believe. So if they say they want to stay away from it, but if they want to tell something, who am I to say, nah, I don't do?
And let's not forget, this bodyguard didn't just claim Shannon was at a Diddy party. He said he met the 17-year-old girl there. That's a very specific accusation, not a general rumor, not hearsay. He's naming events, people, and timeframes. And the silence from Shannon? It's loud. He hasn't addressed the tweet directly. He hasn't denied being at the party in question. And fans have started picking apart his past interviews, looking for signs, little slip-ups, changes in story, anything that points to the truth. And here's the thing. Shannon knows how this game works. He's been in the spotlight long enough to understand what a scandal like this can do. Which is probably why, when everything started bubbling up again, he tried to distract the internet with something very public. A moment so oddly timed, so conveniently revealing, it made a lot of people start questioning everything. And that's where the IG Live scandal comes in. Now this is where things really start spiraling. Because just as the internet started buzzing over the bodyguard's claims and the rumors of Shannon being at Diddy's freak-offs,
He talked with a list, with that that talked with a list, has the #1 podcast on YouTube. Not sports podcast, Cam.
boom. Shannon accidentally goes live on Instagram while he's in the middle of getting very personal with a woman. Like, no mistaking what was going on. It was graphic, it was loud, and it left everyone staring at their phones like, what did I just witness? Now let's be real. Going live on Instagram isn't something that just happens by mistake. You've got to open the app, press the button, confirm it. It's not a butt dial. But Shannon's explanation? He brushed it off. Said he was just a healthy, active male doing normal adult things. He even threw in a line about how people were bullying him for living his truth. But people weren't buying it. Not even close. In fact, some fans said it looked staged, like it was all part of a PR stunt, especially after the rumors started swirling about him being on the DL. They saw it as a performance, a convenient way to say, see, I'm straight. I'm into women. Nothing to see here. And then, enter Cat Williams. According to Shannon, Cat called him personally after the IG leak went viral.
I didn't know it was gonna cause this kind of ripple. I didn't think it was gonna move me in the direction. I'm glad it did. And some of the comedians had taken shots at other comedians, but nothing like this.
Not to joke around, not to drag him, but to warn him, to tell him they couldn't let the narrative spiral. Now, if that doesn't scream damage control, I don't know what does. Because why would Cat care so much about defending Shannon unless there was something deeper at play? Fans picked up on that too. They started dissecting Shannon's image, his taste for high-end luxury, his sharp fashion, his refined mannerisms, and suddenly the DL rumors weren't just whispers, they were theories with receipts. But even if that IG live was staged, it might not be enough to save him. Because while Shannon's out here trying to control the narrative, there's another bomb about to drop. And this time it's coming from a woman who says she's got visual proof of what Shannon's been up to behind closed doors. And this is where the story turns disturbing. Because right when things couldn't get any messier, bam, a woman named Gabriela Zuniga, also known online as Carly from OnlyFans, comes forward. And she isn't just spilling tea. She's launching a full-blown lawsuit, with powerhouse attorney Tony Busby by her side, the same guy who's gone after big names before. She's claiming Shannon Sharpe did unimaginable things to her. We're talking allegations involving race play, domination, bondage, the kind of stuff that instantly turns headlines radioactive. She's asking for $50 million. And here's the wild part. She says she's got video evidence. Allegedly, a full recording of Shannon doing the most extreme acts, not something described in a text, a visual, recorded receipt. And this isn't some secret leak. According to Gabriela's team, this was planned, a deliberate setup. She knew what she was doing. She hit record on purpose. She wanted to catch him. But here's where it really gets dark, because that's not even the only footage that might exist. Remember those rumors we talked about earlier? About Diddy's homes being rigged with hidden cameras? Well, now, people are starting to connect the dots. If Shannon was at one of those parties, and if Lil Rod's claims are true, there's a very real possibility that there's another tape, a secret one, recorded without his knowledge.
She said, hello. I said, hey, how you doing? I'm Shannon Sharpe. She tells me her name. She's like, I've never seen you here before. I said, yeah, my attorney's here, Marvin. She said, oh, I love Marvin. I love Allison, who's his daughter. She said, oh, I said, I've never seen you here. I said, I've been coming here.
Just sitting in a vault somewhere waiting to be used if, or when, Shannon steps too far out of line. And if that kind of blackmail system exists, it wouldn't just be about keeping people quiet. It'd be about controlling them. So now Shannon's fighting a war on multiple fronts. A $50 million lawsuit, a potential revenge tape, a leaked IG live that only raised more questions, and rumors swirling faster than he can shut them down. But some fans are starting to think this isn't just bad luck. It might be a takedown. And if that's true, then who's behind it? And why now? See, once you zoom out a bit, this whole thing stops looking like a scandal and starts looking like a setup. Because let's be honest, Shannon Sharpe wasn't just some sports analyst. He was everywhere. ESPN, Club Shay Shay, viral clips, social media love, brand deals. He was becoming unavoidable. There were even whispers that he was on the verge of landing a massive $100 million media deal. That's generational money. That's power level money. The kind that makes gatekeepers nervous. And then, boom, everything starts falling apart. One minute he's dominating the media space, the next he's stepping down from ESPN for the off-season. A lawsuit hits, a scandal erupts, a bodyguard starts dropping tweets, leaks start swirling. It's like watching a perfectly timed demolition. But here's where it gets even weirder. Because the moment that really shook the industry wasn't something Shannon said. It was who he gave a mic to, Cat Williams, that viral Scorched Earth Club interview, it cracked open the facade. Kat called out half of Hollywood, dropped names nobody else would touch, and exposed the twisted games behind fame. And who gave him the stage to do it? Shannon. After that episode aired, it was like Hollywood snapped into damage control mode. Not long after, you had people coming for Shannon hard. Some folks believe he got too bold. Others say he made himself a target by letting someone like Kat speak freely. And here's where it gets chilling. Kat didn't just go after Diddy. He also mentioned Bishop T.D. Jakes, connecting him to some shady rumors and that same circle. Fast forward.
3-4 years, I've never seen you. She said, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm just not meeting you. She said, today is my last day. I said, what? She said, yeah, today is my last day. I said, you got a new job? She said,
Jakes steps down from his role in the church, quietly. No big press tour, no explanation, just gone. And now, whispers are getting louder. People are starting to say this is all connected, that there's a shadow system, one that builds up black men in media, but yanks the rug the second they stop playing the game. And with Shannon being the guy who handed Kat the mic, maybe that spotlight got a little too hot. But we're not done yet, because right when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Whack 100 entered the chat. And what he said about Shannon took the internet by storm. So just when you thought the fire couldn't burn any hotter, Whack 100 jumps in and throws gasoline on the whole thing. He didn't beat around the bush. He said it straight up on a live stream. I definitely think Shannon Sharpe is bisexual. No stuttering, no disclaimers. Just full-blown, he's bi. He just needs to admit it and stop running. Now, Whack's known for saying wild things, but this hit differently. Because it wasn't just some troll online, it was someone in the industry. Someone who claims to know how the game works. And the way he said it? With total confidence, like it was the worst-kept secret in Hollywood. He pointed out Shannon's mannerisms, his designer style, his polished image, and basically said, look, this guy's been signaling something for a while. The flashy suits, the soft-spoken charm, the luxury lifestyle. According to Whack, it's not about hate, it's about truth. He said if Shannon had just owned it from the jump, nobody would have had ammo to use against him. Instead, now he's stuck playing defense while the receipts pile up. And the public? Oh, they ran with it. One fan said, when I first heard he called his show Club Shay Shay, I thought it was a joke. No straight dude would name his show that. Another chimed in with, ever since those DL rumors started, Shannon's been overperforming masculinity. First the leaked video, now weird message exchanges. What's next? And honestly, that's the energy right now. People aren't just talking about what Shannon's done. They're questioning why he's doing it. The IG Live, the lawsuit denial, the sudden ESPN break, it all feels like a carefully choreographed attempt to protect an image that might not even be real. And at this point, fans aren't even mad about his private life. They're mad about the performance, theatrics, the idea that someone's going out of their way to stage a whole persona while the truth bubbles underneath. But here's the most dangerous part. With all this swirling around, it's no longer just speculation. There might be actual footage, real, raw, incriminating footage, caught on Diddy's hidden cameras. And if that drops, this whole thing could blow up in a way that nobody comes back from. So now, we've reached the edge of the cliff. And what's waiting on the other side might be the end of Shannon Sharpe's career as we know it. Because all signs are pointing to something massive brewing behind the scenes. Those hidden cameras inside Diddy's mansions, they weren't just a rumor. Multiple sources, including Lil Rod, who's been dropping bombshell after bombshell, claim that Diddy had every single room wired. Bedrooms, hallways, bathrooms, no exceptions. These weren't just for security. They were allegedly there to collect leverage on everyone. And here's where things get terrifying. If Shannon was ever truly at one of those parties, there could be footage, not just party clips. We're talking compromising, career-ending, unrecoverable footage. Something that could be held over his head. Something that could explain the sudden silence, the rushed explanations, the PR distractions. And you already know how Hollywood works. These tapes don't just leak. They surface when someone decides they're done protecting you. It's the same pattern over and over. Build them up, make them rich, give them just enough rope. Then yank it when they get too powerful, too honest, or too rebellious. Shannon was on his way to being bigger than ever. That $100 million deal? He was this close. And then, just like that, boom. Scandal, sabotage, silence. And don't forget, he's not the only one getting caught in this web. Cat Williams stirred the pot. T.D. Jakes stepped down. Whack 100 lit the fuse, and now Shannon's sitting in the center of a storm that might have nothing to do with what he did, and everything to do with who he crossed. So now we're left with one massive question. Is this all just a smear campaign? Punishment for letting Cat Williams expose the elite? Or is the footage real, and Shannon's been running from it this whole time? And what happens if, or when, that footage drops? Because if it does, there's no PR spin, no Instagram live, and no Club Shay episode that can save him.